Now we are in kind of a wait-and-see position here, where depending on how Wolfenstein does in release, following up with a Wolfenstein title is a possibility. The other major option for that would be a Quake-themed one, kind of in the Quake 2, Quake 4 enemy territory line of things on there. And we're just not sure what we're going to do with that yet, because as we're growing that team, they're going to be working on the multiplayer components of Rage and Doom. So we're hoping to slowly grow them up as they get familiar with the new technology. Because we have a core there on the Quake Live team now that just breathes multiplayer on there. That's all they do. And we wanted to grow that there, so they have that sensitivity there. But now they need to kind of grow into the IdTech 5 technology working on these multiplayer things, and then accrete the whole team around them to be able to do another AAA title on there. We're not in any huge hurry for that, but we have the freedom now to grow it as fast as we feel prudent. As we find good people, we're going to be hiring them. When we were going through this last round, we were talking about Rage, but we were also talking about Wolfenstein, Quake, and Doom. We had pretty much, that's why everything sort of came together here, where we had all of our rights back on this, and the ZeniMax deal came about sort of as a result of that. But well before that, when we were pitching to all the publishers, we got the same thing from all of them, that we'll be happy to work with you with a partner company. You can pick the partner, we can help you, whatever, and we'll give you this deal. But if you want to go ahead and staff up yourself and internally develop, whether it's Doom or Quake or Wolfenstein on there, we'll give you this deal plus this many tens of millions of dollars on there, a lot more. They were significantly different on there from all the publishers wanted us to grow the company in there. And so we were taking that step initially. We were going to do the Doom game, and we were going to see how things went. We weren't committing to growing any more than that because it was already practically doubling the size of the company. So it was a big step for us. And we've still got more IPs than we can use. We've got Wolfenstein, Doom, Quake, and Rage, and we have no intention of going to 4 companies, not in any foreseeable future, so there will always be someone out on any given cycle there, and we can make that decision as each team comes free. And I don't know when. I guess we'll probably see how Wolf is doing in the next few months on there, but we won't need to really make a decision about the next project there until after Rage ships. Well, there's not actually that much direct interaction that's going on between the teams. It is important that we look at the teams as separate entities, but because we are sort of brothers now, we want to help each other out as much as possible. So we each have a pretty deep technical lineage, so it's not like either of us are going to be ripping out major things and splicing in somebody else's stuff, because we have blooded teams that are doing their job right now, and we don't want to pull the rug out from underneath anyone. But I am talking with some of them about future graphical technology, directions that they want to go. It's pretty neat, actually, for me to be able to clean up some code and send a bunch of stuff over and say, here, this might be helpful. You can look at what I did here, or talk about the directions that I researched that didn't pan out on there. And I think there will be some value that we can kind of communicate that way. And that's going to be kind of a new fun thing for me to really have another development team there that I can go over and not spend so much time on it, but say, look, I explored this, this, and this. This kind of worked out. This had this problem. If you do this way, you're going to run into that. And I'll be able to at least save them some good work there. Actually, I got my little bit of fresh work by doing the mobile stuff. A couple years ago when I started doing the mobile work, that was sort of a way for me to go out and do something different. And initially, of course, we did Doom RPG, but then the Orcs and Elves stuff was brand new with no tie to anything before. So in a tiny little step way, I got past that a little bit earlier before everybody else kind of gets through this shipping Rage. We had started on Rage first, but that's the scope of these things, where it takes so long to develop Rage that I was able to go off on my own and start this whole mobile division of stuff kind of in the middle of Rage's development. But there was certainly some concern through the early development about, do we have something that's good? And the project we had started, we rebooted. We flushed it when we said, this isn't where we want to be going. Let's do something better. And that was one of those things where it really is good to be a private independent company, where we can just say, all right, a year of development with all of these people, that's a lot of millions of dollars, but we're just going to kind of flush it as experience and start over on something. But as we've gotten things close to, we're starting to play test things now. I think we've got a good game. We want to make it a spectacular game by the time we're done. I think we've got a good base to work from here. From what the next generation is going to offer, it's pretty clear that Microsoft and Sony are still going to go head-to-head on raw power, high-end graphics, and all that. I'm not sure what Nintendo's going to do. They certainly managed to throw some curveballs out there last time. But from a graphics geek and computing geek standpoint on there, it's pretty clear that we're going to have some of these sea of processor type things, whether it's an Intel Larrabee or an NVIDIA CUDA or some ATI Fusion approach on there. It's going to be, for anything normal, it'll be much better than anything that we've ever done. That's just a given on there, that if you just want to program things in the most basic way, the next gen will be 4 times as good, or say, as what we've got right now. But the exciting part is it's going to open up the possibility of doing things in ways that have just never been possible before, that we've not been able to do. So that's what I'm looking forward to, trying to write a completely new graphics architecture, something that's not just tossing vertexes and fragments at the screen on there, but doing something different and doing it in a way that enables a new content creation paradigm and some other steps there and things that we can do. So I'm very excited about it, but I'm not in any huge hurry because we've got so much stuff going on with the Intech 5 generation that I'd like to go ahead and have large mature markets that we can put these expensive to develop products out on while working on the next gen stuff. And I'd love it if we were in a position to actually be a launch title for a console generation. We've never been set up to be able to do that just because of the directions and time schedules and everything. But there's a maybe that if it takes a little while, we might be in a position where one of our titles might have a next-gen version of it, a cross-generational version, or we might choose to do something that is aggressive on the technology front but conservative on the other fronts. There's a lot of things that we have to kind of juggle around to make decisions on there, but it'd be, I would enjoy trying to make a play for that, but I suspect things may be going a little faster than what's going to be possible on that. High definition is really kind of a non-issue. I mean, resolution's an easy-to-scale thing. Multi-core, big difference for developers on there to try and take good advantage of it. Of course, you had the first titles out the gate on these that were basically like previous gen titles, just faster, higher resolution, better color depth, all that stuff that you got for no real development effort. But as people got in and said, I want to try and get the most out of the PS3 or the 360, it turns into a whole lot of software engineering there. And just all the games are getting so much more expensive. PS1, PS2 games, they cost, X million, X times 4 million. Now we're at X times 10 million or something on there over that. And there's every reason to believe that if next-gen consoles have 2 gigs of RAM and we're developing games that fill multi-layer Blu-ray DVDs or whatever we pipe over electronically on there, you just don't even really want to think about $100 million game development budgets. It sounds absurd, but people are already dumping that into like massively multiplayer games and stuff, and seeing that in the typical games, that's a little bit frightening. That's a lot of money and a lot of development effort for things that is still kind of a hit-driven business on there. I think that someone, and it may very well be Nintendo, would try to make a pure play on digital distribution because the attach rates are higher than anybody really predicted for this generation of consoles. I mean, you still get the people that say, X millions of households don't have broadband at all, nobody could do this. But the attach rates, even for the Wii, are higher than people were expecting for how many people plug them into broadband connections on there. And when we look at things like the App Store for the iPhone on there, it is such a wonderful way to do business on there, and I think that really is the future. The question of whether somebody is going to have the nerve to do it in the next generation is still an open question. There's nobody doubts that this is the future. The only question is, how many years out is it? And I don't think that Microsoft or Sony would be able to do something that unconventional, in the next step, because there's just, at the level of competition that they're at, they can't miss anything on there and kind of fall behind. The interesting thing about controllers is that if you just try to use them to mimic a functionality for a game that's designed for another input device, they're never going to be great. If you're designing a game around what you can do with a console controller, which is what we're doing on this current generation, no other controller is going to magically make the experience super great. Even if it is a zero latency, 100% fidelity, some form of motion type thing, if the game wasn't built around that, it's not going to be a world shaker there. You really need to have games that are engineered from the ground up around that. And it is interesting. There's good and bad things that people do on there where I have never been as frustrated as some Wii games have made be. You know, some parts of Super Mario Galaxy or Zelda where if you've got a motion controller, it's fine to integrate things or make things directly proportional, but recognizing gestures from motion controls, like, God, I hate some. I've never so much wanted to throw a controller out a window as on some of those games. So there's definitely risks involved in doing certain game control stuff. But like I mentioned in the keynote, I was super impressed with the 6 Sense technology on there, which is a different fundamental technology, but really damn good. And I don't know who's partnered with who on there. Again, I don't track a lot of that industry stuff there. But that's one of the rare times when I've looked at a little piece of technology and I've really thought, this is the future. I don't know whether it's going to be that particular company or who does what, but that type of approach is, again, what the Wii always really wished it